Hello everybody, welcome to the Daily Sip. My name is Oliver and my mission is to bring you closer to organic Japanese green tea. And today what we're going to dive into is what makes actually Kamairicha green tea different. So when we talk about Kamairicha, this is a semi-roasted tea mainly done or mainly produced in the island of Kyushu, so the southern island in Japan, where also Kagoshima, for example, is situated, which is the biggest city in the south of Japan. When we talk about Kamairicha, what do we actually refer to? So the Kamairicha is actually a turned tea, so it is a little bit a curled tea, but what is special about it, it is some kind of an in-between of a sencha and a so-called roasted tea, which is the hojija. So when we dive into sencha, as you might know, so this is here is a shaded sencha, so I'll show it to you here. So you can see that this tea has quite a dark green color. Meanwhile, when I take the Kamairicha next to it, you can already see that it goes a little bit more into this kind of little bit slightly browner, but slightly also a little bit darker and not as jade green color. And if we roast this tea a little bit longer, what actually happens is that it completely turns dark. So here we have a really dark brown tea, which is a hojija, and this is just the in-between of the sencha and the hojija. Good, so let's put these two teas aside and concentrate on the Kamairicha. So as I said, the south is quite the most popular region, but you can also find Kamairicha in, for example, Shizuoka, the Osada tea farm, which we visited in April last year. They also were producing or do produce Kamairicha as well. So it's not only exclusively done or produced in the south, but the main region are Miyazaki, for example. You have, for example, Nagasaki as well. So there are different areas which are known in the south from for this tea. But this tea has also a little bit by the name by the Japanese as Chinese tea. But why is this so? So as you might know, Chinese or the origin of Japanese tea is China, and it was brought in the 8th century, were the first teas brought or tea plants brought into the region of Kyoto. This is where it developed. So these were mainly monks bringing in tea from their studies, which they did in China. So this tea spread a little bit broader also to the south, and what actually is special about this tea is that it is done with pan frying method. So the pan frying method is actually a Chinese method, and it was brought into Japan in the 15th century during the Ming Dynasty. There in Japan, this method was developed, or in China the method was developed and then brought to Japan. And that's how it evolved, and mainly situated itself in the south of Japan, and that's why also the Japanese refer sometimes to Kamairicha as the Chinese tea. And what is special about the tea when it is done in this way, it is that actually it is kind of an in-between of a roasted tea and a green tea, and it develops nice cereal, sweet tones, nearly a little bit of honey tones. So it's a very delicate tea, and it remembers a little bit when you're drinking a Chinese tea or when you used to drink Chinese tea. Sometimes you get a little bit of these notes from this tea. But maybe let's just dive into the tea itself. So this tea is done by Mr. Issin, which is living in Takachiho, which is in Miyazaki, so in the south of Japan on the island of Kyushu, as the main part of this tea is done. So it's a typical area where this tea is done, and his family and himself, they they have 4 acres of tea which they have, and one of their specialty is definitely the Kamairicha tea way of doing tea. The main difference and what we learned on his tea farm is actually that in the last stage, when you are when you're doing your tea, so first the teas heated up to around 300 to 400 degrees Celsius. It's a turning pan nowadays, so it used to be everything handmade, but nowadays it's just a big machine which is turning, and there the tea is, at the one hand it is steamed, which is typical for the Japanese green tea. On the one hand it is slightly roasted due to the hot pan where the tea is turned in, but then it goes over or through several kind of production processes, and especially in the end there is kind of this magic if the tea turns into hojicha, or if it stays a Kamairicha. So the Kamairicha is done for around 1 hour, around 70 degrees Celsius, which is around 170 Fahrenheit, I believe so, 165, 170 Fahrenheit. And when you're referring to hojicha, for example, they do the same time, but they do it at a hotter temperature from 100 to 120 degrees Celsius, which is around 210 Fahrenheit, if I believe so, if this is right. So this is the main difference, and then the tea becomes really either a Kamairicha or it becomes a hojicha. So, but now let's dive into the taste notes of this tea. So what's also quite interesting with this tea is that you get quite a nice golden color of this one here. So if you just have a look how beautiful golden this is not so typical for a Japanese green tea. Japanese green tea tend to show a little bit more of a greener hint. So when I go in the first tasting of this tea, what I get a lot is a kind of a beautiful sweet note, a little bit of a honey, a cereally note, and there's slightly a little bit like this golden toasted note when you have this smell of the bread which you have in the toaster, and then you kind of get this first, when it starts to turn golden, you really get this smell. This is what I'm really getting from this tea, especially when I'm smelling the leaves. And here I have a slight green undertone as well, but kind of this beautiful kind of golden toast flavor I get in the nose. I get it also in the taste, but the taste also shows some kind of a slight sweetness with it. So very interesting. Definitely a great tea just to enjoy, especially in the morning. I really like this tea to drink it in the morning. Oh, perfect to start your day with. It's also quite good in terms of caffeine content, so there we're still in the level of sencha. Also in terms of vitamins, it's on the level of sencha, so it's really a good tea to start your day with. But let's see how the second brewing of this tea is. So when we just brew it to number 2, very easy, very fast, you can do this. 20 seconds is more than enough. The leaves, they start to uncurl, they unfold, and you see the color is just keeping up, and you can do with this tea at least 4 brewings. So let's have a look how the first and the second compare. Still very smooth, very sweet, nice cereally tone. You have a little bit more of this toasted, kind of toasted bread flavor here with this one here. Meanwhile, in the second brewing, we get a little more of this kind of green, slight vegetable flavor, but still staying a lot with the cereally and slightly lightly toasted flavor, which this tea really differentiates from either a hojicha, which is really kind of this strong roasted flavor, or from a sencha, which shows this kind of strong kind of vegetable taste. So perfect taste to dive into. And if you want to discover just a green tea which is tasting very, very different from the other teas you might already know from Japanese green tea, here we have a very, very good tea which is showing a little bit of both worlds and is a perfect in between, still having a nice level of caffeine, so good morning tea, and also vitamins, and also very beautiful kind of energizing effect on your body. Good. This is this. I hope you liked it, and don't forget, if you ever have a question or if you want to any topic to cover us, please put it in the comments, like, subscribe, and I guess I see you next time. Thanks a lot for watching. See you and bye bye.